Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we'll be talking about object and classes. Let's dive into it. What is an object? Object is basically a collection of key value pair. What that means is it has a key, it has a value, which is the data. So data can vary. It can be either a string or an integer or even a function, or it can be another object, or it can be an array. So basically, key is a labeling of the data, and value can vary from string, integer, function, object, or array. So it can be anything. So the way you access all the data within the object is through keys. That's why we need key. It's kind of leveling of table and stuff. So object.key will give you the value. In this case, if you just remove this thing here, it will give you the function on itself because that's what it is. A's calculator is a function. But if you call that function, it's going to output the console.log. It's going to print out your A's is, and it's going to calculate the value from here. Same with this. You can see here both of the names are same. How it identifies which function it needs to call is because you're going to an object and then you're going to cars, which is another object, and then you're going to the function, and you're calling that function with this bracket here. So after calling that function, it's going to print this one here. So basically, object is collection of key value pair. Now let's dive into classes. So what is a class? Basically, a class is an object creator. So it creates objects. You might have heard it's a blueprint of object, and what it means is it's basically an object creator. And let's take this car object as an instance, because I would like you guys to do a class for object on itself. I'll just give you an instance of a car for now. So in car, what we have is we have three different keys. So we need to describe what it means. We need to make a blueprint of what those keys will mean in a class. So basically, a constructor, we would pass name and build, and we would assign those names and build that we get while we're creating a class to name and build. So basically, this name and build will be in the object that we will create through this class. And this name and this build is the one we're passing through the constructor. So this one is the function that we've used up here. So basically what this means is we just copied this function over here just to make sure we've got all of the key value pair. But the variables itself, since it's going to come through the class calls, we have to assign those values to a specific variable. So when you call class, what happens is it creates an object. If you print this object, it's going to print out the same thing that we have created up here. So it's going to print out this thing. So we're calling it with the same data. We're calling it with GT3RS and 2019 model. So it's going to be assigned here, and this class will return an object. So that's what an object creator means. So this thing here is an object. So class created this object. Object is also an instance of a class, meaning GT3RS and 2019 is instance 1. But if we call that class again with different data, then it's going to give us a different object. So that's an instance 1 and that's an instance 2. That's what it means by an object is an instance of a class. And also here you can call the A's calculator because the car object 1 is an object because this returns this value. So through this value, you can just access the A's calculator and you can call that function so that it prints car A's is 7. Same with this object. And the other question that might arise in your mind is why do you need an object creator rather than just making another object? The answer to that question is, let's say, for example, instead of John, that's object 1, right? We could have, for example, we wanted to create another object with name Mike. and his date of birth might vary. So he might have been born in 7. So in this case, and his car might be BMW M3, whatever, and built is 2019. So here, his name has changed, his date of birth has changed, but this function here that calculates his age, do you think you should change this? Because it's just printing the age by calculating and accessing the data that we've just put in here. So you do not need to change this in another object. But if you had to copy and make another object, you had duplicated this function here. So just not to duplicate the things that we can say, we need a class creator. Because let's say, for example, this thing, we don't need different copy of this function in every object. So that's the reason why we put it as a standard method. So whenever you create an object, just by sending the name and the brand build date, you can access the same method for both of them. You're just sending the name and the year of build, but you're accessing the same function in both of the objects that you created through that class. Just to not repeat the things that are common between different instances, we need to create a class. So that's pretty much it for today. Hope you learned something through this video. See you next time.